We've been talking about the shift from physical to digital media over the coming couple of generations now, and certainly we've seen an acceleration towards all digital, but it seems like every now and then something will happen that reminds people of the drawbacks of just having a digital era where there are no physical games, and actually something like that just happened, this time with Sony reminding us that yeah, you probably want to have physical games around going forward to at least help balance the market and honestly keep some of these publishers honest. And we're going to take a look at that here today. So if you guys enjoy the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. And I'm telling you, some of the stuff you're not going to want to sleep on, unlike actually today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Helix. This is all gamers need according to the internet. It's a minimalist approach with the suspiciously unbranded TV that still does 1080i for some reason, a GOAT game system that laughs at those mandatory installs and online requirements, the wired controller that says you probably still have a shelf full of VHS tapes in the living room because rewinding only adds to the experience. And the most important part, top shelf comfort from Helix. I was able to match with the Sunset Luxe with a breathable top using their sleep quiz, which finds you the perfect mattress based on your preferences. The entire process only takes a few minutes and removes all the guesswork out of picking a mattress since it's based off of what you like. If you sleep with a partner, you can both take the quiz together and Helix will find a mattress that meets everyone's needs. I'm a side sleeper and the soft feel along with the enhanced support has made this the most comfortable mattress I've ever owned. Since switching to the Sunset Luxe, I've been sleeping better and waking up much more refreshed. Being able to do the entire shopping process online was way more convenient. With just a few clicks, you can browse all different types of mattresses and add-ons without having to worry about a salesperson hovering somewhere nearby. Helix delivers the mattress straight to your door with free shipping in the US. It comes rolled up in a box and once unpacked, expands to full size. There is also a 100-night sleep trial to test out the mattress to make sure it fits you perfectly. With a 10-year warranty and financing options available with flexible payment plans, Helix makes sleeping on top-level comfort a no-brainer. I love my Helix mattress, and I think you would too. If you're looking for a new bed, check out Helix Sleep. Their Labor Day sale is running now. It's the perfect time to upgrade your sleep with 25% off a Helix mattress. Click the link below or go to helixsleep.com/spawnwave to find out more about this limited time offer. Take the sleep quiz and find your perfect mattress today. Thanks to Helix for sponsoring today's video. Oh, come on, that was a good segue. And I even worked a GameCube into the ad, but the ads and sponsorships, they do help out the channel, so thanks for sticking with me on that one. But to today's video, I wanted to take a look at a decision Sony very recently made when it comes to Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster, some of the reactions to it, some of the revelations to it, and then also a law that's actually recently been passed, but some confusion even around it. So when I talk about the digital future, I talk about how you wouldn't go to a store, technically, or order online like Amazon or Walmart or Best Buy and get a physical copy of that same game in the mail day one. And we're seeing more and more of these companies go away from the need to have a disc or a cartridge right away. Some will have like a staggered launch, and they're perfectly fine with it just being there digitally. Basically, we are having more and more of these products just train consumers to expect them to be digital, and that's kind of it. Well, now we see something like this happen. This was right after the Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster was announced, which there's a whole discussion around how necessary that really is, but nonetheless, we're mostly talking about the pricing here. So Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered is $50. They're releasing it of course, on PC, and they're releasing it on PlayStation 5. But there's an issue, see, because Horizon Zero Dawn is a $20 game on the store, and you can actually upgrade it for $10, which means it will come in quite a bit less than the $50 mark that Sony is looking for. So what do? Well, it appears they have raised the price of it to $40. So they doubled it from 20 to 40, and they did it pretty much overnight without saying anything. In fact, there is a site here, psprices.com, that tracks the changes, and you can actually see the timeline of events where it has been $20 for a while. It was, what, $10 here, $10 there. I mean, there are sales that ran all the time for this game. At one point, Sony gave the thing away for free. It was like a stay-at-home initiative thing. Like, here's Horizon Zero Dawn, and that was kind of it. I believe they're actually honoring that $10 upgrade for that version as well. So, I mean, really, if most people who I understand have wanted to play the game probably own it at this time just for how cheap it's been. But there's always the possibility that people may get into it, say, with the series that's coming up, like the TV series I believe they're doing. And we've seen that kind of effect with something like Last of Us. Fallout most recently was massive for the franchise on the video game side. And I feel like Sony, with their big push for Horizon, maybe expecting something similar. So, yeah, we go from $20 immediately up to $40, which with the $10 upgrade makes it $50. If you remember, Sony went through something similar which is a very strange situation all the way around, with Horizon Forbidden West and the free upgrade path that was implied and put next to when they were going over all this stuff, and then they tried to do the $10 upgrade and they had to backtrack on it. So it actually didn't make any sense to buy the PS5 version. Just buy the PS4 version and just get the free upgrade for $10 less. So they wanted to avoid that here, and they jumped it $20 to $40. Now, if you find it physically, of course, well, it's just $20. Like, you find it all over the place. It's not difficult at all. Probably even cheaper than that if you have like certain used stores near you that would carry it. It's a very easy game to find for less than $20 is what I'll say. Probably $10 is fairly common for it on used shelves. But in a world where we wouldn't have that, well, you can see Sony's effect where they indeed can fluctuate the price pretty much at any time. Something else that I think flies under the radar a bit for Sony, and I think we're seeing more of a push for this, probably from other platform holders, especially into next generation, is their unwillingness to allow other storefronts, like online or in-store, to sell digital games. And Sony did allow this for a little while, and then years ago, they started removing it completely. Basically, you just go to their store and that's it to buy digital games. And Sony's actually facing a class action lawsuit over this. You can see up here for $5 billion. And the class action lawsuits end up being a whole thing anyway, because they take forever to finish. And when they do, if there's any money that's actually distributed out to consumers, it's like a small check, and that's sort of it. It's more the principle here of the market's noticed, lawmakers are noticing, regulators are noticing, so much so that you have people bringing up lawsuits around it. And we even have, at this time, a law that was passed that a lot of people started sending me messages over in California that compels digital storefronts to inform players they don't own their games. Now, there is a very important caveat to this, because you go, oh, well, they can't use the purchase button anymore. It has to be called something else, unless it's specifically like drawn out right next to it. You don't actually own this game when you buy it. It's a license, and that's something that people don't necessarily realize with digital games. You don't actually own anything. And I mean, think about what we've seen with Concord even being pulled directly out of someone's library. And I know it's Concord, but it just shows you what they can indeed do if they say want to pull a game back. If you have Concord physically, doesn't really do much, but technically you own it and you can look at it and say it's a coaster, but well, you bought it, and it's not like they show up to your house and take it from you technically, but in this case, they can pull that digital good out of your account. Remember with Stellar Blade, they pushed the demo early, they took that back. We had a whole thing with Ubisoft where they were shutting down the crew and they were actually revoking access from digital libraries. So we have several examples of this being a thing, and now in California with this law, it's at least trying to outline that a bit more. And a lot of this is citing retail continues to pivot away from selling physical media. The need for additional consumer protections on the purchase of digital goods becomes more important. And I do think that's very important right now to figure out, because if it's not figured out soon, it's basically going to be happening as it's all going on in front of us, like the regulation side. So it's going to be like the Wild West when it comes to digital distribution and what exactly publishers can and cannot do. This is the one I wanted to point out, though, as Stephen Totilo did go through some of the fine print, we'll say, for the law that's being put into place here, saying, I keep seeing some confusion cropping up over this California law. As noted in my story, it does not cover games that can be downloaded and played offline. It's targeted at media that requires an internet connection that the seller could revoke access to. So think about any game that has an online requirement, like you have to be connected to the internet to play it. That's basically what it is here, because yeah, if you just unplug your system, say from the Ethernet connection or disconnect Wi-Fi, then the game doesn't work. So they have to tell you that you technically have a license that checks in with them to make sure you're good to play. And if you really look at how the market is right now for physical games, you have many different retailers competing for your attention and mostly your traffic. That's what the biggest reason that we would actually carry new games and new consoles. We don't really make any money on them. The idea was if we have the right selection of games that can bring you in, you might spend money on other stuff, or you might just remember that you came in and come back again later. That's the biggest reason for it, and why we would at times put things on sale or just try to be more enticing to consumers, because there are so many places you can go to buy a physical PlayStation 5 or a Switch or Xbox Series game. So if there was just one store in town, they probably wouldn't do any of that, because where else are you going to go? Well, that's basically what's being pointed out here for Sony, with them not allowing digital games being sold just through like those cards you would buy at like at a GameStop or at a Best Buy. I think at one point GameStop would just print the code out on your receipt and that was it. But Sony doesn't want anyone else to do that, because they want you to just go specifically to them. And I think as we work closer and closer to just digital games being it, that I think a lot of publishers will follow suit. Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, especially if, well, they get away with it, because why wouldn't you? You're just going to control the market completely. But there is an aspect of this that I feel like could end up backfiring on these platform holders if they do go down that route aggressively. See, because I've been observing what's been happening with Apple and their closed garden, and how they are just getting hit from all angles from different companies when it comes to having multiple stores on their platform, right? They've gone through all these different court hearings, and regulators are checking it out now, and it seems like we're starting to at least see the ability for other storefronts to even pop up on Apple's iOS. It's getting a bit strange there, and it does make me wonder if in the future, let's say Sony does go down the path of you can only go to them for your games and that's it. Well, does that mean that they could end up in their own issues around the legality of all of that with regulators, and they may have to open up their walled garden to where, what if you went on the PlayStation, there's an Xbox store, there's like a Ubisoft store, Epic Games store, Steam. It's possible if it got to that point. But I do see people mention, well, PC, they've been digital for a while, and it really hasn't been that big of a deal for them. See, the biggest difference here when it comes to consoles and PC is that PC is an open platform. So what that means is you already have digital stores all over the place competing for your dollars. So that's why you see Epic Games go out there, even with a platform that is nowhere near as robust as Steam. They're trying to make up for that by just literally giving you games. Hey, you want Alan Wake or whatever, right? Oh, we're just going to go ahead and give this to you for free. There's a Tomb Raider game from last generation. It's free. And they'll just do that. For a while, it was every other week, especially during like the holiday season. They were just giving you a game, and it goes into your Epic library, but it's a reason for you to open it maybe if you want to play that game. And that all is pushed on by just competition, something that, well, closed ecosystem consoles really wouldn't have, because, well, there's one store to go to. And to me, this is why, even if you're someone who is all digital, like you have not bought a physical game in a decade or so, you still should want physical games to be around, because it does work to keep these publishers and platform holders honest to a degree. Like, you still see these quick price jumps for something like Horizon, but you do have the option to go out and buy it physically and pop it in, and there you go. But in a world where you don't have that, hey, maybe Horizon, and maybe that jumps to $60. It's a full $70 for the remaster, because where else are you going to go to buy this thing? There is no other upgrade path. You're just picking it up here. And that's my biggest concern going forward, is the lack of competition on these platforms and the potential for these things to be busted wide open if regulators take notice, especially if it's a bit too late, because that will become absolute chaos midway through a generation. But let me know what you guys think about all this down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.